Paul, in Friday's Globe and Mail, columnist Carl Kelly, I haven't even said anything yet.
Just go. Just go.
Okay. He wrote about how it's a national embarrassment that Toronto is not hosting games in the Women's World Cup. Your thoughts on it?
Well, it's just so cliche to pick on Toronto and how they think they're the center of the universe, but this took stupidity to new levels. You know, first of all, he's in Edmonton covering this tournament that he's whining about not being in Toronto. The reason there are no games in Toronto is Toronto took themselves out of the running by hosting the Pan Am Games, and a stipulation was you couldn't have another major sporting event within a year. But to suggest that the rest of the world cares about only seeing Toronto in Canada, as he compares Toronto to London, you're just an idiot. Honestly, I haven't seen such a hacky column in decades. Toronto wants to be a world-class city so desperately, and I love Toronto, Jonathan, but every time they've gone up against world-class cities like London in Olympics, they have lost. They have just peed all over themselves. No one cares globally about Toronto, or they certainly don't care as much as Kelly thinks they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'll add this as well. The National Soccer Stadium is in Toronto. That's fantastic, but that's a Toronto thing, really, because the Canadian women aren't based in Toronto. I'll also say this. The last FIFA Men's World Cup, which happened in Brazil, did you care about half the venues?
No, I mean, there was the Maracana in Rio, but other than that, like, you know, pick another stadium in another city, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the spirit of the sport was embraced, and I think that's what we're looking at. Look, Edmonton has kind of a history of this, don't they? You know, the U19s had 50,000 there. They've hosted World Track and Field Championships. They've hosted World Figure Skating Championships. Toronto really needs to get over itself. What have they hosted? I'll tell you what they haven't hosted. A Leafs playoff game.